Hey everyone, it's John here from Hockey, back with another video, and this video is going to be about 3 big NHL players that are around some trade rumors right now, and I'm going to talk about some trade scenarios. So welcome if you are a new subscriber, smash that like button. Mathew Barzal, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Patrik Laine. With Laine, I mean, buddy shows up to training camp, he's looking sarcastic, he's looking happy, but I think at the end of the day, he wants to get moved. Pierre-Luc Dubois has made it clear, especially from his agent, that he wants to get moved. And Mathew Barzal right now is holding out no contract. He's still an RFA. So it's like, what's going on with these 3 big players in the league? I would already call them stars in this league, but 3 future stars going forward. So there's a lot to kind of discuss here. And that's why I wanted to make one video discussing scenarios for all 3 players. So specifically, I already have made videos for each of these players, so go check that out on the channel. You can search it up. I'll probably link 1 or 2 of them at the end of the video. I have talked about trade scenarios for Laine, for Dubois, for Barzal. This video is discussing some other ones I haven't discussed, or some I have, and just kind of revisiting it and just kind of discussing what I think could happen. So with Dubois, that's one that I think could be a situation that happens soon. Like, there's some sources that are saying he could be traded in weeks or months. Laine, it's an interesting situation right now, but the Hurricanes are really interested. I'll talk about that. And with Barzal, we just don't know. He wanted the long-term contract, and now it's kind of in the short-term area. Will he get a contract like Dubois did, but then will that ruin kind of the long-term relationship that the Islanders could have with Barzal? We got to talk about it, right? But Dubois signed the 2-year extension, Bjorkstrand the 5-year extension, $27 million. I think with Dubois, the Blue Jackets had no interest at all. They want to keep him. They want him to be the number 1 guy. But now it's going to be a tough situation. His value only went higher from the playoffs, and now this public trade request has kind of went down. And now with Barzal, like, no one knows what's going to happen. So let's go through some scenarios here. Starting with Pierre-Luc Dubois. So I didn't talk about this in the video that I made specifically for Dubois, but the Senators are one team that interests me, and they have a lot of assets, they have prospects, they have players I feel like could go back to the Jackets. And one of them would be Brandstrom, one of them would be Josh Norris. I think like Colin White or Norris would have to be part of this trade. I think one of them, like, you're getting potential from either one of those guys. Colin White, obviously a little more established in the league at this point. Josh Norris, maybe more potential. Lashley Thompson, I'm just throwing kind of another prospect in the picture because I feel like the package that the Blue Jackets would want if they have to trade Dubois would be a decent roster player, like a good forward roster player, an up-and-coming defenseman, which Brandstrom fits that bill, another prospect, and then maybe even a pick. Like, that's already a huge package. Obviously, if you're getting like a star or like a top-notch guy back, then that package becomes smaller. But the Sens don't really have that besides like Stützle and Brady Tkachuk and Thomas Chabot, and that's not happening. Those guys are not going anywhere. So that's kind of where it goes to the next tier of guys, and Brandstrom and Josh Norris and guys like that. That one of them will definitely have to be part of this trade if the Sens were to go after Dubois. And so this is going around right now. David Pagnotta talked about it. A couple guys have talked about it. The trade package kind of swirling around right now is like the Jets asking for Pesce and Martin Necas for Patrik Laine, and the Hurricanes just don't want to give up both. And maybe like they don't want to give up either of them. Like, Pesce's a really good, the price is decent, 4.25 I believe, and it's just a good deal for Pesce, and he is a really solid two-way top 4 defenseman, and Marty Necas is an up-and-coming guy who can play center, who can play the wing. So it's like losing both those guys for Laine, who's just always been a question mark. But I mean, Laine Svech or Laine Teravainen on the wings of Aho would be so much fun. So it's like, it's something you have to think about, and I think the Hurricanes are pursuing it. I honestly do think if it's Necas and another piece, they could get it done, but I don't think it's going to be Necas and Pesce. All right, so the Wild. This one's interesting. I think I talked about the Wild acquiring a centerman, and Barzal could fit that bill. I think if you package maybe Eriksson Ek with Dumba, and then maybe the Wild taking one of the bad contracts from the Islanders, whether it's Komarov or maybe Thomas Hickey, or I don't think they're touching Andrew Ladd, but I mean, he's been part of discussions with the Islanders. That was in the case of the Islanders taking the Parise contract, but I just think the Islanders and Wild might be talking again and maybe become trade partners. I just think it could be a fit, and if the Wild could get quite the package together and maybe even take a bad contract from the Islanders, it might be worth it in the long run. Again, you're losing Barzal, so is it really worth it? I don't know. But the team dynamic for the Islanders has worked out. Boston Bruins. I think they could go after Pierre-Luc Dubois. A lot of people have been asking for Bruins rumors from me and like what I think about the Bruins and Sweeney. It seems like he's not doing much, but I mean, they have the pieces somewhat to get it done. They don't have the young prospects, but in terms of roster players, if they could package DeBrusk and Coyle together, and then maybe like a pick and a prospect, maybe get Dubois back, or like with like Foudy or Dubois with another prospect, or Dubois with a defenseman. The Blue Jackets have a couple left shot defensemen, so I think a package could get it done. Coyle and Domi could play a 1-2, not the best 1-2 punch, but they could be a 1-2 in Columbus, and then you get DeBrusk in it as well, and then Boston gets Dubois, who will be able to be there right after some of the older guys retire, like Krejci and Bergeron. So, I mean, a future top line, Dubois, Marchand, Pasternak, that ain't looking too shabby. And the Sharks may be acquiring Dubois. So I think one of Hertl or Meyer would be asked upon from the Blue Jackets. So if they maybe send one of those guys over and Hertl can stay healthy, like maybe the Sharks are like, hey, Hertl's been injury prone, let's take on Dubois. Younger guy, has a lot of a great future, so I think it's possible. This one's just like a huge hot take, but I mean, you know what? In terms of value, like it's not so far off. So the Islanders trading Barzal, Bellows, Hickey, and Hosang. The Jets trading Laine, Roslovic, and Stanley. So in terms of cap hits, this works out pretty good for both sides. Like it just matches up well. Hickey's over $2 million. Barzal would be in around that, exactly what the Islanders have left in cap space. And Patrik Laine's under $7 million. Roslovic not signed yet. So in all, like it's kind of like a 7 for $7 million, or like $8 million for $8 million. I think Roslovic will just sign. Like if he goes somewhere else, he'll just sign like a 1 or 2 year deal to prove himself. And I think that's what will happen. But this trade's not too bad. I mean, the Islanders would get a premier scorer in Laine. They would have to fill that center spot, but Roslovic could play center. But Pajot also has played second line center, so you could just boost up Pajot as your like second line center and Nelson as your first. Obviously that's not great, but the Islanders have always worked out in a team dynamic, and I think a potential top line of like Beauvillier, Laine, Nelson, or Laine, Eberle, Nelson, or Laine, Lee, Nelson, like they have a lot of options on the wing now if they were to do this. So again, it's a hot take, but you know what? Sometimes when players just want to move on, you got to consider something like this. Another huge blockbuster, huge hot take. I'm not saying these trades are accurate, but I'm just kind of throwing random kind of packages together. The Boston Bruins acquiring Laine and Roslovic from the Jets. Again, Roslovic does want to get traded as much as Laine does, maybe more. In exchange for DeBrusk, Kasha, Bjork, and a first. Again, that's maybe a lot coming from the Bruins side, but it is Patrik Laine. That's the best player you're getting in this deal. You're also getting Roslovic. So it's like, I would say you're kind of like getting Roslovic. You're trading Kasha. Those guys are kind of even in value. Kasha is a little more proven, but I think Roslovic has that potential to get consistent like 30 to 40 point seasons at the very least. And Laine is Laine, so you have to include kind of a incentive on top of DeBrusk. So maybe a first is too much. Maybe it's like a second and Bjork, but it would have to be more to get that upgrade from DeBrusk to Laine. And insane KAKKO hot take of the video. If you don't know what KAKKO means, it's kind of like our word on the channel for just crazy take. Just you're on something good. Maybe I'm on something good, but I'm making a hot take that is gonna ruffle some feathers in the chat. But why not? I mean, let's have some fun. What if? Let's play the what if game. The what if the Leafs acquired Pierre-Luc Dubois? Who would the Blue Jackets target? So I mean, in a simple situation, Nylander goes to Columbus, Dubois comes to Toronto. But in terms of cap and in terms of what the Leafs could put together, if the Blue Jackets, they're like, okay, we have to move on from Dubois. The Leafs and Blue Jackets won't be playing each other this season, so it won't be kind of like a Dubois against Blue Jackets. Kerfoot, Justin Hall, Timothy Liljegren, a first-round pick, and something else. See you later. Bring Pierre-Luc Dubois to Toronto. Again, I'm just throwing out a funny package. But in terms of cap hit, people are going to be like, oh, the Leafs can't afford him. For 2 years, they can. If they bring over a $5 million cap hit, Kerfoot and Justin Hall combined are over $5 million. So if anything, the Leafs are going to save a little bit of cap if they were to combine those two guys, plus Liljegren, maybe another prospect, plus a first. Boom, you get Pierre-Luc Dubois. And that top six, if you wanted to pack that top six, oh my. Dubois, Matthews, Marner, Robertson, Tavares, Nylander. No one touches that top six. I mean, and you could even have Dubois as a third line center with what you were missing from Kadri and a little bit of a physical presence. So obviously we're having some fun with it. It's some hot takes. It's hot take hockey. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously I was joking a little bit with that last scenario, but there is some scenarios here where I do think it could happen. I think teams like Winnipeg, Columbus, and the Islanders, like they're busy with that in itself. But teams like Carolina, who want to take that next step, teams like I talked about a couple teams, like Ottawa, in a different sense, is trying to get out of that rebuilding to more of like the up-and-coming team. And they're in that Canadian division, which will be tough, but maybe next year they're looking for something. So, yeah, subscribe, like, comment. This was John from Hockey. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see all of you soon. All right, have a good one. Peace out.